My name is Jeanette Weir from Washington, D.C. I went to school there from the beginning of time until I graduated from Dunbar High School. Went to several different elementary schools depending on where my mother happened to be teaching and whether she could take me with her or whether somebody from my grandparents' house, which was on 11th Street Northwest, could meet me after school and take me that far to their house, and then somebody would pick me up there to take me home. I love my grandparents' house. Always something going on there with grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, always something going on. I remember going up in the attic and trying on old clothes and things with my cousin Louise. I remember my cousin Patty at Christmas time always painted with watercolors beautiful winter pictures on the glass panels of the French doors that went from the hallway at 3006 11th Street into the living room, so that all the panels were a different winter scene. What else do I remember? I had a great time growing up. Went to Banneker Junior High School. Went to Dunbar High School. Still kind of halfway keep in touch with people in my class, especially our class representative who uses the computer and lets us know what's going on with the class business or when the next class meeting is and who died, who has new grandchildren, whatever. After I graduated from Dunbar, I came out here to California to Whittier College. My father made that decision. He wanted me to go away to school. So he also wanted me to go somewhere where in case of an emergency I would have a family member somewhere nearby. So I had a choice, or he had a choice. I had no say so. He had a choice of New York, where he had a brother, Chicago area where he had a brother, or Los Angeles where he had a brother. And so we sent out applications to these places, and he decided that I would come to Los Angeles because Whittier was a Quaker school and he liked Quakers and what they stood for. So I came out here, first time away from home. I think I cried for about a month. I called home every day, but that went away. And I really enjoyed my stay at Whittier. When I was there, I majored in education, sociology, and psychology. I had a group major because even though I was going to become a teacher, everybody else in the family was, you could not major just in education. You had to have what was called a group major. So I had education, sociology, and psychology. Education really being the major, sociology and psychology being minor categories. My favorite teacher was Dr. Robert O'Brien, who was sociology, taught one of the sociology classes. And I could always depend on Dr. Bryan to be at Welch's Restaurant on Painter Avenue in Whittier, so that when I really needed a cup of coffee and a donut, I could go there and O'Brien would buy it for you. And we'd sit and talk and discuss the class and all of that. He also was very active in, quote, race relations. And Whittier was all-white community. And Dr. O'Brien had some friends. He had taught in the South at a black school before he came to Whittier. And he had some friends who lived in Whittier. And they were getting ready to sell their house. And he knew a black couple who wanted to buy a house. So O'Brien bought the house and then to sold it to the block company. It caused a slight uproar for a while, but everything eventually settled down. He was a wonderful, interesting person to talk to because he had done so many things, had been so many places. He got me a job as a babysitter at his house, he and his wife with their children. So I used to go there and babysit. And Whittier was good. Whittier was good. Okay, Whittier was a very small school, still a very small school. When I was there, there were approximately, from what I can remember, 5 black students. And it was a little traumatic since I came from Washington and Dunbar High School, which was all black, all the way across the country, away from home for the first time in my life, to a school that was almost all white. I think that's why I cried and called home for about the first month. Had a wonderful dorm mother though. She used to call me into her living quarters and offer me a cup of tea, and we would sit and have tea, and we would talk, you know, and she would let me use the phone. Everybody was very nice. There was no idea of prejudice, you know. With there are always some people who are going to be, you know. But I didn't hang out with them. They didn't hang out with me, so it was all right. My roommates and I got along great. There were 4 of us in a room, and we just had a good time. My one roommate that I dearly loved, I used to go home with her on the weekend. She lived in La Habra, which was just a little bit away from Whittier. And I used to go home with her on the weekends, and she and her mother and father and sister and a dog named Ginger all lived in La Habra, and then I'd ride home with her and come back. Another good friend was Susie Thompson, who lived up in Beverly Hills. And when I wanted to come into LA to visit my uncle and aunt, I used to hitch a ride with Susie because she had a car, a convertible. However, the top was no good. And the last time I rode with Susie, we were on the Harbor Freeway coming into LA, and the whole top just blew off and landed somewhere on the freeway. And Susie just kept driving. It was okay. But Whittier was nice. Whittier was nice. After Whittier, I graduated in 58. And I decided that I was going to be a teacher. Oh, I decided that a long time ago because everybody else was in the family, in both the Weir side and the Butcher side, at different levels. From kindergarten up through the university level, there were teachers, professors. And so I had decided that I was going to go into teaching, so you have to start filling out applications and going for interviews. So I went to Beverly Hills. Borrowed a car and drove up to Beverly Hills for an interview at the office, and was told basically what it boiled down to, that I needed to go somewhere else and apply for a job. So I came back to LA and got my first job at 99th Street School, 3rd grade. My favorite grade, and I don't think I ever taught. The only time I taught above 3rd grade was when I was in a remedial reading lab that had a lot of machines and things that children had to use who were at least 2 years or more behind in their reading skills. And I did that at Budlong Avenue School. I went to Angeles Mesa School as an acting assistant principal, and I was also the Chapter 1 or Title 1 coordinator at Budlong Avenue and Angeles Mesa School. And then had a little battle with the region office and the principal at Angeles Mesa School, and told them, you know, that I had to be moved or the union and I would do whatever. And I knew a principal at a school out in what's called Region A. I told him to get me out of here, and he did. And I went to Avalon Gardens and loved it. I did not like being an acting assistant principal because you are too far away from the children. And the only thing you see are discipline problems, bad problems, irritated parents, that kind of thing. But going back into the classroom after leaving Angeles Mesa and going to Avalon Gardens, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything I did. I did a lot of artwork. Everybody had their window panels, glass panels, and we painted them according to the season or the holiday that was coming up. So when you finished your work, you had a glass panel and you could start on your panel. Nobody had ever thought of that before for some reason. But even the principal came in and painted a panel. The assistant principal came in and painted a panel, so it was great. Enjoyed music. Took my children to the auditorium once, and they had heard about pianos, they had seen pianos, they had no idea what was involved with the piano. And I opened up the back, and they were so surprised to see all of these strings and hammers, and somebody play a note, and what happens on the inside of the piano when somebody plays a note. I was on television once. We used to look at a program called Ghost Writer. And it was made for children. It came on once a week. And so my class used to look at that. Everybody had their notebook, and it was children in here who were trying to solve a problem. And you had to take notes when you were through as to what had happened, what you think was, what you thought was going to happen in the next episode, and how the whole thing finished out. And they had somebody come in from the station and interview me and film my class, and they put it on television. Then we did The Wizard of Oz. Another teacher and I, we did The Wizard of Oz. It was in one of their reading books, a very condensed version. But we made the costumes. He taught all of the music from the movie or from the play. So we had the chorus from our two classrooms that sang the music. They did the costumes. They memorized their lines. And we put on, I have a video of it. And they did The Wizard of Oz. I enjoyed doing stuff like that. And of course, all of that is taken away now. You can't, music is taken away, art's not in the curriculum. Nothing like that is in the curriculum anymore. I used to do my own music because the music teacher would come like maybe once a week if it wasn't raining. So we used to sing songs, and we used to do these little finger play songs and stuff that they used to have to list on the board, so that it was music, but it was a learning experience too. So we did music, we did art, we did everything in room 12 at Avalon Gardens.
Did you have an art teacher there?
No.
So you did all the art experiences they had. You were pretty much in charge.
Yeah. The best part about, not the best part, one of the things that I enjoyed about teaching was having kids come back and see you. Ones that had gone on to colleges, ones who were working, who were out there having jobs, and they would come back and visit you. And they would say, gee, I remember when, and it just kind of made your day. About a month ago, I ran into one at the public library, not too far from us. And, she looked at me and she said, are you Mrs. Blue? And I said, yes. She said, I was in your third grade class at Avalon Gardens. I said, I don't want to hear it. But she was just Tiffany. And so we stopped and talked, and I came home and I found the class picture that I had kept. And I took it back up to the library and showed it to her. And she found herself, and she found, all some of the other kids that she remembered from the class. And that's great. Of course, you have some that come back who had problems, and you sit and talk to them and hope maybe what you say will help. You don't know. Because you might just see them, most of the kids you just see one time, and then you don't see them anymore. If you're a first year teacher, don't let any of your children know it. Don't let any of your parents know it. They won't ask you anyway, but you just don't go say, oh, this is my first experience. No, don't do that. It's nice to make sure, this is something that I always do that I would pass on to someone else. No matter what grade you're teaching, after you have initially gotten into the classroom and gotten situated, send home a beautiful written invitation to your parents, inviting them to come in for coffee or tea one day after school. And you have coffee or tea and, cookies set up. They'll come, and you can go over your program with them. Tell them what you expect, what not to expect, what you would like them to do, how you need their help. And it works miracles. It really does. They really feel that you have a sincere interest in their child's development. And you do. But sometimes they don't know that you do. They think you're just there on a job. So you do something like this, and you don't wait until open house night. You do it as soon as you possibly can, when you know your class is stable. Sometimes they have reorganization. After reorganization, then do it. If they're not going to have reorganization, do it as soon as possible. I had something that I use that I would definitely pass on, and that is I had a reading report card that went home with my children in my class, and it was a laminated piece of construction paper, and the dates going across one side, and an explanation on the other side of what I expected from the parents and the children. They had to read silently every night, 15 minutes, and then what they read silently, they had to read aloud to the parents. You got to get the parents involved. And then the parents had to initial that they had done this for a whole week, bring it to school on Friday, and if everything was okay, they would get stickers and praise and all of that kind of stuff. Stickers, oh, they love stickers. That's why, just go out and buy lots of stickers. And there was space at the bottom, and I would write a note, hi Mom, you're doing a great job, keep it up, or something like that. And it's a personal thing, even though you're doing it for 30 children. And it takes your whole weekend to go through and make a little note, on each one. It's really good. I would definitely do that. I would definitely have coffee, tea, and cookies. When you see a problem coming up, I would, you know when there's a problem coming up. You can see it getting ready to bubble over. Call home. Don't go by the home, because parents don't like you coming by unless you have made an appointment to come by, because you might embarrass them to a certain way. The living room couch might have papers on it or something they don't want. So, but call home. I was very close to just about all of my students, even the worst ones. Even the worst ones, I was close to. But it's just, don't let anybody know you are a brand new teacher. They're not going to ask you probably, so you don't need to volunteer that information. Even though the curriculum is reading-based, math-based, you've still got to do some other things in there. You need to get a library in your classroom. You need to get checkout cards, because a lot of the kids will say, well, I couldn't do my reading report card because I didn't have a book. Okay, that's no excuse. You go pick out a book from our library shelf, we'll check it out, you take it home, you bring it back on Friday. So you definitely need classroom library. You need to spend time either before school or after school with kids. Have them come in. They can talk to you while you're doing papers, marking papers, whatever. They can erase the boards. They want to spend time with you, and you need to spend time with them. You don't ask them their business. You don't go into personal business. You don't go into what's going on at home. Nothing of that sort. If they decide they're going to volunteer that information, then that's all right if they volunteer it, but that's between you and them. Unless it's something like an abuse case or something like that, then you go to the right authorities for that. I enjoy teaching. I took my kids on the Red Line from the Union Station. They had never been on the subway. I hadn't either. We went to Alvera Street first and took a tour of Alvera Street. Then walked down to the Union Station, picked up the Red Line, took it out to Hollywood somewhere, I think, and then turned around and came back to the Union Station and had lunch and went back to school. But things like that, I took them to a farm where they had never seen live horses, cows, sheep, goats, whatever, and had a wonderful time there. I tried to expose them to as many things as I could. I took them to the beach, even though they lived in Los Angeles, were an hour from the beach. They'd never been to the beach, they'd been to swimming pools. They knew all about swimming pools, where the closest swimming pools were, but they had never been to the beach. So I always managed to work in, a bus trip to the beach. And they would be absolutely surprised. The beach, it's here. But I tried to expose them to as many things as I could. I think I did a good job. The teachers there had some connection with a company called Beneficial. And I think it was a real estate company. I'm not really sure. But they gave us, each individual teacher at Avalon Gardens, and it was a very small school. We only had no more than 2 classes at each grade level. And they gave us, individual teachers, not the school, X amount of money to purchase books. And they would let you know how much you had. They would not give it to you in your hand. They would let you know how much you had. They would tell you the different children's bookstores you could go to spend this money. And you would go there, you would pick out as many books as you wanted for your classroom personal library. And the person who worked at the store would keep track of how much you had spent according to what Beneficial had given you. And it worked out wonderfully. Now, Beneficial would not do it if they had to go through the Board of Education. They would only do it if they could do it within our school. They did not want anybody telling them what to do or telling us what to do, telling us what to do, and taking forever and ever and ever to process all of this. They would do it only on a one-to-one basis for the teachers in that school. And they did that, I guess, for maybe about 4 or 5 years. They did that so that our libraries really built up in our classrooms. And then when I left, I turned all of my library things over to another 3rd grade teacher who was there. So Mr. Myers got all of my library books and things. But it worked out really well. It was beautiful while it lasted. And I don't know why it came to a stop. I don't know whether something through the district or something through the school board, I don't know, heard about it and just stopped it or ceased it. I have no idea. But while it worked, it was wonderful. Wonderful.
Wow. So that.
Being a new grandparent, teaching goes on and on and on. Joshua is 3. He was 3 in April. He is extremely verbal, which has its good and bad points. He loves books. He loves to be read to. He has memorized stories from listening to you. You can leave out words, you can leave out sentences, and he will tell you, you left out that word, Grandma. That's not what's on that page, Grandma. So he has memorized books. Art, he loves to finger paint. He has an easel with the little paint trays and the cups and the brushes and stuff, and makes a mess all over the kitchen floor, but that's what kitchen floors are for. Either food mess or paint mess. So he does paintings and we put them up. He goes to the library, and the librarian, children's librarian, is excellent. She reads some stories, and then after the stories, depending on if there's a holiday coming up or something important or a season, a new season, they always have an art project after the story time. And she has all of the things there that they need. She has the papers and the crayons and the glue. Everybody loves glue sticks. The glue, and they just glue everything on top of everything else. And they paint it, not paint, they color stuff. And she shows them how to put things together, to staple them, or the parents really have to do most of that kind of stuff. So they have the art project once a week at the library along with reading. Joshua has pictures everywhere. He has pictures on a folding, what is that called? Folding screen between our breakfast room and the dining room. Wonderful pictures. We have sent pictures to his Uncle Phil and Aunt Ruth, and to his cousin, Dorothy Howard. And so they all have these marvelous pictures that Joshua has done. He's going to be famous one day. Oh, me.